Alright, what's up guys? It's Angel here from Yugioh. Today we're going to be talking about Tenpai, the deck that's been kind of putting chaos all over locals and winning games that sometimes it doesn't deserve to win, but the deck's real, it's here, it's only gotten better post Rage of the Abyss, and so we got to talk about it. The deck's super cheap for the most part, I guess now, except for the new jellyfish, Fualos. But it's something you're probably going to have to face at some point in the tournament, so we're going to talk about how to beat it. Also, if you're playing the deck itself, this is the build that I have here. This is not my main deck. I like Voice as my main deck, and I'm still testing that, but I feel like you gotta have a Tenpai deck on hand in case you want to just run rampage across your locals one day, or get some free wins off Shifter. But yeah, I'm gonna do like a small deck profile and then kind of talk about some of the cards and how to play against it too, because I think unless you're playing the deck, you're gonna have to be prepared for this as well. I'm on 40 cards right now. It's pretty small engine, but with the jellyfishes, you're gonna have a lot of draw power, so you should be fine. Camera's not picking that up too well. There you go. 3 Paidra, 3 Chandra, 2 Genroku, and 1 Fadra. This is just what I'm playing here. People are playing Doro or more Fadra, but I'm going second. Unless you're playing a rematch, you're not going to go first, and I think you don't really need the second Fadra. You can make you use 1 Fadra to make the play going first, where you can get spheres and a Genroku, but going second, you only need 1, and you're going to hopefully win that turn, because I'm not playing hand traps in here, so if it does go past there, then I'm going to have to grind with my Biden and spheres, because I'm not going to play second Fadra, it just bricks too much. And Dora, it's not searchable in any way. It's just it's a good extender, and the card's really good, but I want to keep it at 40 to maximize the chances of drawing our jellyfishes and our shifters, because those are turn skips. And that's pretty much it for the engine. There's cards that get you through the engine, but those are the monsters themselves, of course. 3 of each jellyfish. So we have the new one, Fualos, that lets you draw whenever your opponent specials from the extra deck or from the main deck. Comes up a lot, almost every deck does it, so this one you just gotta time right, because you don't want to shotgun all your jellyfishes and then they just pass and you go -2. This one, however, since they have priority in the main phase to normal summon, this one makes sense to shotgun during the standby phase, because the first action they're gonna do sometimes is the normal summon. But yeah, especially in this deck, even if you do go first and you keep these in, you can make the spheres, and whenever you tribute the spheres and get it off field, even if you have a Genroku too, you can tribute both of them to activate their effects. You have nothing on field, and then chain all your jellyfishes, and then they have to make a big decision whether they want to push through it or not. And then Shifter, of course, the turn skip of Doom, and then Breakers, 3 Regeki, 3 Dark Hole, 3 Lightning Storm, Feather Duster, and Droplet to make sure all those go through. Then we got 2 more Breakers, Talents and Thrust. Thrust gets you to almost any one of these, and Talents is just a good option. And then we got our spells that are part of the engine: Terraforming, Summoning, and the 3 Kaiman. And then the last 3 cards are 3 Infinite Permanents. You don't really play a high hand trap count other than the turn skips and the draw cards, but this you typically would probably want to hold for your turn instead of trying to prevent a board from happening, because most decks can play through like 1 hand trap. So you're better off waiting to use this on the negate and then using a board breaker on top of it. But so honorable mentions for the extra deck. We're not going to go through the full extra deck, just a few cards that we're going to have to focus on when we talk about this deck. But let's start with the spheres. The spheres is going to be a lot of times what they end on, so you're going to have to know how to play around this, know how to bait it, and then understand that they're going to probably summon something, and then have floaters on the field too. So spheres is going to be a big problem. Biden is always going to be floating around, because even turn 1, you can use 2 dragons to make this, bring back the dragon, and then make spheres, and it's going to be engraved already. And Transcendent is the biggest threat, where you aren't able to activate anything in the battle phase anymore. Turns everything to attack mode, and kind of leads into this play where you just make the Trident. And once they get this far and have this up, a lot of the times it's just game over. If you let them get that far, they can just spiral out of control like crazy. So these are the cards you have to worry about in the extra deck, of course. But really just talking about these main cards here, the jellyfishes and the shifters, because anything else you can kind of play through. You have to understand your deck, and this is what you're going to be facing. The lights are in the way, but we'll put that here. Yeah, mainly, so these 9 are what you're going to have to worry about. Like, if they open any one of these, you're going to have to make some big decisions. So you pretty much have to understand how your deck plays through Fualos. Understand what lines you can make if you get Fualos for 1, or double Fualos, or Fualos, every combination possible. Know what your deck can end on, where it's worth giving up a certain amount of cards and still being able to like be in a comfortable spot. It's a really bad spot if you have to play based on your hand, like if it's too much engine and you know you're just going to die, and you have to push through these, because you're going to end up giving them so many cards. And if they're on hand traps, they're going to be dropping them as they draw them, versus if they're on breakers, you just wait till the end phase, and then depending on how many monsters you have in your field when this, in the end phase when this resolves, they have to shuffle back randomly. But you get more value if they do have hand traps, because you're throwing them at your opponent as you draw them, and so that count at the end phase is, even if it's 9 or past 9, you've also used a bunch of cards, so you're not going to have to shuffle as many back, or your opponent's not going to have to shuffle as many back. But these cards obviously hurt Yugioh, they hurt Tenpai. You get at least a +1 off of that. Fualos is definitely good against Fiendsmith, against the new Azamina deck as well. And then Shifter just covers so much range. So you're just going to have to think about whatever deck you're playing, is it worth playing still after these cards are out? And what lines of play are you going to go for? What kind of boards are you going to end on? And where are you going to look to break through? Personally, this channel is about Rogue in general. But my main deck right now is Voiceless Voice, for example. So I like to end on, even if I get Fualos, I can still end on Omni Negate typically. I play Nadir Servant, so sometimes I don't even go into the extra deck if I don't have to. You can always save the Fiendsmith stuff for follow-up. And yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, in this deck, Voiceless Voice doesn't typically special summon from the main deck too often, unless you use the trap, but that's pretty mid-game. They're going to use this like turn 1. A lot of times you search and then summon, whether it's off of the Skull Guardian searching low, or adding with Saphira, or adding with a variety of cards, pre-prep. You're adding to your hand, then summoning, so Perilla kind of hurts us more, which they also play, but even then you can still end on Omnigate most times with maybe like giving them 1 draw, something like that, because if you have low in your hand and you use it to summon from hand, you can bring it back from grave and kind of dodge one instead of normal summoning it. And so yeah, it's just something to consider. If you're in a good spot with your deck, then lucky you. I feel like Voiceless is in a really good spot where it doesn't hurt to these cards too much. I do play Fiendsmith in my variant, so it hurts a little bit more, because if I lead with that, then I kind of have to just leave stuff that I committed on board and then just go to the Voiceless stuff instead of playing behind it. But it's better than giving them so many draws, in my opinion. One thing I've also done recently in my updated build is add Kashtira cards. I think they're good against Shifter and against all these. I mean, this still hurts Kashtira a little bit because you do summon them from the hand and they shotgun this, so they're going to get the draw, but it helps you just play under Shifter. Shifter is a big problem for many decks, and Voiceless is included there. But the deck's pretty toolboxy, and it allows you to play on their turn, your turn, and you can still play through it. I win a lot of games through Shifter. It just really sucks because you don't get your full combo off. Helps if you play hand traps in your Voiceless deck. Keeps you alive for sure. They don't have their graveyard to work with either, so like a lot of the decks that are playing Shifter are like Tenpai, like this deck here, and Retro Beast. I don't know, I think Labyrinth might play it, but Labyrinth is another deck that's super well positioned where they don't really lose to these cards too much. I think Perilla can hit them if they summon from hand, but they could totally be fine with just passing and setting all their traps. So yeah, just a small discussion I wanted to have about Tenpai, because I feel like it's a super important deck to know how to beat. So many people are playing it. The cards are super easy to pick up, super cheap. This is really the only card that, like, if they don't buy it and they choose to play a different variant because they can't buy this or find it or pick it up, then you're in a little bit better spot, but you're still dealing with a very strong aggressive deck that's post-Rota, and that has so much coverage. Like, all these cards they're either turn skips or they cover so much range, whereas like decks that play a lot of hand traps that are trying to pair with each other, they need to see multiples in order to stop you. This one, they just need to see one, and the rest could be breakers and engine. And so it's a good reason to play this deck too. This deck's awesome. It's very powerful, but a lot of people are trying to find out also how to play against it. So there's different variants with the hand traps as well. Like I mentioned, you get more value off of them, the jellyfishes, that way. But I personally like the breakers just because the amount of range is covered. Like, if you look at the way this is built, it's just total range. Like, every card in here is just like kind of meant to deal with anything. Not anything specifically, like if you're playing certain hand traps, you have to kind of decide, do I want nib in here, or is that too slow, or people playing around it? It's just very general coverage. You don't really have to think too much kind of cards, and a lot of the times those do the job really well. And that's pretty much the whole idea of this build and this deck here. So yeah, just a small conversation I wanted to have about Tenpai, and it's going to be I think it's probably the best deck, just because it can play all those hand traps or the turn skips and stuff. It probably uses them the best. Also with the most amount of non-engine. So you could play a lot of breakers or hand traps. And so yeah, a lot of people don't like this deck, but I think it's pretty aggressive and pretty fun. So you gotta know how to play against it regardless, even if you don't like it or you do like it or you play it yourself. I picked it up personally so I could test against my friends with it and understand it better. And I ended up liking it too, but I don't use it as my main deck because Voiceless is awesome. And that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what ideas or side decks choices or tech choices you guys got, and drop it in the comments below. I really want to hear what you guys have to say about how we're going to be dealing with Fualos this format. I think everybody's kind of talking about this card, whether it be about its pricing or them getting hit with it and having to either give a bunch of cards up or pass turns. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and until next time.